Tak, dobrý večer. Já doufám, že video běží, alespoň mně se tady ukazuje živě. Já teda budu ráda, kdyby někdo odpověděl do události, že nás vidí a že všechno teda běží tak, jak má. A zastupuji tady dneska Google Education Group Česká republika. Patřím do, já tady jenom čtu ještě událost. Tak. Tak. Google Education Group by vás dnes večer rád přivítal při vysílání Allana Carringtona, který by vás rád seznámil s tím, s jeho vytvořeným nástrojem pro učitele. Okay, Allan, it's up to you. The stage is yours.
Okay, everybody can. It's very. I'm studying my own feedback. Okay, my name is Allan Carrington, and right at the moment I'm getting feedback. I can't hear myself speak. Someone's got microphones in. Okay. I need to not hear my own voice. Okay. I have headsets, so it's not me. It's at your end. So.
Okay, so I'm.
When I talk, I can only hear myself, and it's very distracting. I'm hearing barking dogs.
Okay, Allan, you can speak. I think everything is okay because I am receiving.
But I can't think. I'm hearing myself talk. Okay, and it's not my end because I'm in headphones.
Okay, so I think on another maybe browser is the video going on.
I'm sorry.
Somewhere in your computer, I think.
I beg your pardon?
Somewhere in your computer, maybe on another browser, the video is going on, isn't it?
I don't think. Hang on a second. My only browser that's open is Safari. It could be.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just try something here.
Okay.
Okay. Right, we solved the problem. We have another computer in the room. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Right. Sorry about that, everybody. We've got multiple computers here doing different things, and when we tried to get two computers to talk to the system, one computer was feeding back on the other. It's cool. Okay. Thank you so much for inviting me to participate in this event tonight. I'm suitably impressed. I'm going to turn my video off. I say hi, guys. I'll say the famous word everybody waits to hear me say, and that's "G'day, guys. How you doing?" But I'm going to turn the mute the camera. Okay, this will now give us more audio channel, and hopefully I can do some screen sharing with less lag. I don't know how many people are here at the moment, so how many people have we got on the room at the moment? Can somebody tell me?
Okay, we have 9 people in the room, I think.
Okay, I hope they all speak Australian, but I doubt it.
I don't know. We will see.
We will see.
So, okay, Allan, shall I share the link?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I am doing it now.
Yeah, what we're going to do, everybody, is this is very new. It's so new. We only thought of it yesterday, and with hundreds of videos, webinars I've done, I've never heard this done before. Doesn't make us nervous. It makes us excited. But what I'm going to give you now is a link, and that link will take you to a video in a program, software program called Zaption. And all you do is do what you're asked, put your name in and watch the video. Then 15 minutes time, I'm going to take back the microphone, so to speak, because these questions that are being asked will feed back your knowledge building back to me, and then we will discuss it together. So you're going to do all the thinking and I'm going to wait for 15 minutes. So you're okay with that? Is it we right to go? Are we okay? Please say.
Okay, I think we are okay. There is a person who has problems with connecting, but the other people say that they can hear and see everything. The link is there, so I think we can start the 15 minutes.
Okay, the timer's on, guys. Let's do this thing, and in 15 minutes time we will pick it up again. Okay, but I can tell you more about about who I am in 15 minutes on a video. Okay, everybody, we're up to pretty close to 11.5 minutes. We've only got 3 minutes to go, so keep at it, and then we'll start to talk about what you've contributed. Okay, everybody, how are we doing? Are we all close to finish? Can I get some feedback of somebody? Are we ready to go, do you think?
Okay, Allan, I have received a message from one participant. He is ready. The other also. So at least two.
Yeah,
at least two of them are finished.
Petra, it'd be also good if you can encourage the others to let you know when they're finished.
Okay, so the third one is finished.
We'll give 1 more minute.
Okay, I would say 2 more minutes would be okay.
Okay, we'll give 2 more minutes. Blessed
Okay.
are the flexible.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody. Let's move on this one. Can anybody want to make a general comment? Now, this is a bit ambitious, Petra. I don't know how we manage this. Can anybody sort of write a quick sentence on how they felt about that? Did it work all right?
Okay, so far I know that there at least 5 people finished, 6 people finished watching the video. And from their responses, for example, I know that it's very okay, that they appreciate that there are subtitles for the video.
Yeah, so you got to thank Linda for that. She's the genius behind the Czech subtitles.
Okay, and some of them say that their English is not good enough to write long answers in English.
Okay, now I should have mentioned the fact, and I'm sorry that I didn't, guys. We wanted you to answer in Czech.
I see.
Yeah, that was because we were having so many teething problems. But the truth of the matter is, when you use this sort of technology, and I'll just speak briefly to it, Zaption is the name of it, and it's interactive video, and it enables you to overlay on top of a video all sorts of activities, including multiple choice questions, etc. Now, that's the good news. The bad news is that Zaption is shutting down on the 30th of September. They've been bought out by somebody, and they're now going to be no longer exist. There's literally millions of Zaption users scrambling to find new things. So there are other, if anybody's interested in the technology, they can drop me an email or something at the end, and we will talk about it. Now, I'm going to share my screen quickly, and you will see what the producer of the video, or whatever you want to call it, is. Just bear with me a second. And Petra, tell me whether they should see this. Do they see that?
Okay, I will ask them. Tak před chvilkou jsme slyšeli, že ta aplikace Zaption, ve které bylo vytvořené video, je výborná. Viděli jste tam možnosti, které máte. Pak ovšem je ta špatná zpráva, že 30. září tahle aplikace skončí. Tak, teď se vás Allan ptal, chtěl by ještě chvilku na sdílení obrazovky a máte mu pak dát vědět, jestli obrazovku vidíte.
Is everybody see my my screen?
I can't see it. Sorry, Allan, no.
Really? I'm sharing my analytics screen.
Okay.
Let me try it again.
Yes.
Wait a minute. Come out of there. You should be seeing.
Oh, okay, so the other says that they see it. Okay, so that's fine.
Okay,
yes, I see it too.
When Zaption is a free service, as is another one called PlayPosit. Now, don't worry about it. I will give you those links later on. But whatever technology to use has analytics built into it. So now I'm looking at the participants who have worked the video. So we see Lucy, Petra, Pavia. Oh, there's an interesting one. Chiquita, is it? Forgive me for the Czech names, guys. But you see what I'm talking about. Now, let's have a look and start to talk. Now, we may not get a lot of rich information out of this one because you've got to grow into it. You know, you've got to get used to it. And I should have mentioned the fact that it was you should have responded in Czech. So we've only had 2 people respond to the first question. Okay, that's okay. I'm not complaining about anything. In the next question, I've asked the question, does anybody use the pedagogy wheel? Okay, or rather the question is, I believe Bloom's taxonomy thinking is really important. Now, again, Linda and I will be translating questions into Czech in the future. I'm sorry, I thought it was all going to be in English. Okay, but so if the question was in Czech, you can then make a like-it choice decision, and you can see what's possible, and then you can discuss some of the results. And you do this live, and you see the next one is, do you know of any school, university, or college that publishes the list of graduate attributes? So we've got a complete no. Okay, now this question of graduate attributes is really, really important, because, and all I can suggest to you is that universities and institutions around the world now are spending huge amounts of resources to develop graduate attributes. This is, what are the characteristics? What are the attitudes? What are the values? What are the behaviors that are considered successful in a graduate? And be it a graduate from a university or be it a graduate from a school. And it's interesting that nobody has seen that in the Czech Republic. Doesn't mean you're behind. It just means that there is still a great deal of work to do. And you can work with establishing your own graduate attributes. You can, as a teacher or a facilitator, can decide with the sort of characteristics you want to see in the students. Now, I think I mentioned Professor Jeff Scott from the University of Western Sydney, and those attributes are what the bosses want. They're the ones that pay the money, and so that's a really important issue, and it's really important to understand that is the core of the pedagogy wheel, and you can work with that. Now, all those resources, we haven't got a lot of time to speak to that. Open. Now, I didn't get any open responses, and I understand why. So for the obvious reasons, here we have another one. Okay, we've got. Now, this is where if Ludmilla, is that the way you say? I got the lady standing next to me. Do I say that, Ludmilla? Ludmilla, yeah. Ludmilla, you disagree that about this question. The question was, motivation is thought about and discussed a lot where I work. So you disagree. Okay, that's cool. Now, it's interesting that Pavel agrees, and actually Pavlina says strongly agree. Pavlina, could you type a comment in there? Have you got any thoughts about that, about motivation? Are you really in a place where motivation is talked and thought about and how you motivate people?
Tak já poprosím Pavlínu, jestli nás ještě slyší, jestli by nějakým způsobem zareagovala na tuhletu otázku, jestli by nějak zkusila vysvětlit, proč tak silně souhlasí, velmi souhlasí, nějaká myšlenka, která jí k téhle otázce napadá. And Allan, I asked Pavlina if she's watching us to type the answer, but I'm afraid we have to wait for a moment.
That's okay. It's more important that they start to understand the process as teachers, even though that they probably wanted to hear a lot about the pedagogy wheel. All those resources, that PDF that I've handed out, or rather the link to the PDF that they download later, is a wealth of information on that. And it also contains over 200 links to apps and to places to go and look. And, they need to do the hard work, and they can't do it in a 20-minute webinar, okay? So what I was more interested in showing them is interactivity pedagogy, modeling, okay?
Okay, so still no answer. Yes, I have, okay. Pavlina thinks that it is very, that we, as the teachers, we do the most likely what we like, what we are enjoying, what we really want to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the passion is contagious. And guys, if you are not highly motivated as a teacher, it's time for holiday. Okay, I'm serious. If all you're teaching for is the money, you're in the wrong job.
That's very true. That's very true.
And so you learn how to transfer the passion, transfer vision, and you can ask how we did that last Friday in the workshop. I only wish I had more time to make sure everybody could get to participate in these things. Let's move on quickly. Come on, next question. Where are you? I'm not getting the question. Why is that? Okay. There should be more questions than that. Has anybody got any questions at all about what they've heard so far? Is there questions about the pedagogy wheel? How much time have we got, Petra?
I think it's up to us. So
okay, well, I'm going to share a different part of the screen now. I'm going to start talking about the pedagogy wheel, but I really need to have feedback from you guys, what you want to know, because and Lucy's probably laughing now, but the truth is this content is a master's degree waiting to happen. We can dig deep and do a PhD on this stuff, okay? So I need some help exactly on how to help you get started with it. The pedagogy wheel basically is based on Bloom's taxonomy. Are you seeing my screen now? I hope I can
see it. Yes,
yeah.
Bloom taxonomy.
Okay. Now, this is going to be lightning quick, guys, okay? But I want some questions via Petra because it's the only way so that I can give it the best I can for you guys. So it's based on Bloom's taxonomy, okay, which has been around since the 50s, 1950, very old, a bit old like me. Then you get work being done in applying the digital technologies to the areas, the cognitive domains. And in the early 90s, they actually changed the way the Bloom's taxonomy worked. They call it the revised taxonomy. You guys need to be working Bloom's every minute of the day. Seriously, as a teachers, it is such a powerful methodology for you to design good learning outcomes and to help the students. Now, when I did the first version looked like that, and basically these things have been around for 50 years, these activities and the action words. But now with the digital one, they're starting to put digital activities in there, like blogging and podcasting and so on. So the words inside the taxonomy are changing based on digital technologies. I was the first guy to put the apps around the outside, and it got a tremendous reception. And then I started to think, what is the core? What is the real heart of of good teaching? You know, and it's transformation. It's all about transformative learning. And, you know, we spend a lot of hours in a workshop talking about what transformation is. Tonight, we haven't got a lot to time to talk about it. But this graduate attributes question, this question of the values, the character, and what a graduate looks like is really at the core of transformational learning. And so that's where you start. And you've got to start to articulate what excellence looks like. Or all your students are going to do is go for pass. You don't want them to go for pass. You want them to go for gold. And that's where it happens, right at the core. And then you start to work with the Blooms. And then on top of this was on version 2, that was. And then on the outside, I said, okay, you choose your action verbs, you choose your activities, then you find out which apps help you reach that learning outcome. And then you've got to work out how good you design your activities. And that's when the SAMR model I added to it. And then a buddy said to me, well, what about motivation? So version 3 has got a motivation thing. Now this is all about prompts. These are just triggers to help you stop and think that everything you do in curriculum design and everything you do in teaching practice, you ask yourself the question, what am I trying to do? How am I going to move my students towards this picture of a graduate? How am I going to keep them motivated? How am I going to get good learning outcomes? How am I going to choose the right technologies? And then how am I going to design activities? And so that's what the pedagogy was. And that particular version 3 has been downloaded from my site, my blog site, 150,000 times in the last 15 months. Simply mind-boggling. And so that was the poster. And then we got, suddenly I found a site which, don't go there, it's closed, but it was being run by Apple Distinguished Educators. And now I've got 122 apps, and that's version 4. And we are now in version 4.1. And I've got to find out where we went there. But we've now also got it, I'm jumping around, sorry guys. I received this quote from an educational leader who said it's so important it should be in every classroom of the world. So I then ran and started to ask people to translate it. And the ones with the ticks there are the languages we have now published. And of course, Team Czech, as I call it, is Lucy and her team here at the university. And we have done the Czech wheel, and the links are all in that document, okay? And what that's the language champions, I call them. Are you getting any questions, Petra?
Not so far.
I hope they're following my funny accent.
Okay. I'm refreshing the page to see if maybe they are some stuck somewhere. No. May I ask myself?
Yeah, do.
Okay.
Please do.
Okay. I noticed that you offer a certain amount of applications for each part of the wheel.
Yep.
What do you recommend? Shall I, as a teacher, use or learn how to use all of them, or should I choose only one or two?
Okay. A really good question, because you haven't got time to learn them all, right?
Mm-hmm.
You haven't even got time to find out what's available, okay? And really, you don't. And this is why in a lot of universities in particular, you end up with a team approach to learning and teaching. And so in my humble opinion, Petra, the day of the single teacher type function is past. We need to start to look at different functions. And sometimes a poor old teacher has to be all three of these, but we have the function of the subject matter expert, the function of the learning designer, and the function of the educational technologist. Now I'm getting to the question. Okay, so from your perspective, what you really need to do is there are aggregate sites. Learning how to use an app versus knowing what an app does, they're different levels. So the more you know about what an app does, and so that's what reviews got to do with it, and there's plenty of resources out there. But it's more important for you as a teacher that once you've designed your learning outcomes and you're looking at the activities you want them to do, and you know which cognitive domain you're working in, say evaluate or create, you then turn around and say, well, there's a list of apps that I know of, and that's why the people are using the wheel, because there's there's about 25 apps. So start there. But again, there is a lot of resources which I haven't been able to handle tonight, but we do in the workshop, where there are criteria selection down in the area of what makes a good app. So that's app selection criteria. You need to get together some tools, and I'm more than happy to share these resources, but there are lots, like Kathy Schrock is a gal that does amazing work in this. So there are literally rubrics and lists for you to evaluate an app. And so that is really important, and your app evaluation team doesn't necessarily involve just you. It's a team of teachers, maybe at your school, and they're all looking at apps, but they're looking at apps based on a set of criteria, okay? And these rubrics and these lists are really, really helpful for you to do that. And one of the other interesting things, which is a major aha, is that you can ask your students to use a rubric to evaluate an app. And so you're getting this filtered information in how good an app is to do the sort of things you want. So to try to answer that question, it is a question of, no, it's not practically possible to learn all the apps. What we've got to do is get smarter to evaluate what's a good app for the pedagogy you want to use. Does that help you?
Yeah, thank you very much. And my second question, you've answered it, because I wanted to ask about students, if students should choose or evaluate the apps themselves. But
definitely, yeah, absolutely. And the more you bring the students into the process, the more engaged they are, and the more, and to be quite honest, the more valuable your data becomes, because these guys know their stuff, right? But they need scaffolding, as that we call it, of course, is that if you give them a rubric and you give them a set of criteria and say, go and measure these apps on that criteria and come back and tell me what's cool. And we did an action research project with this, where we handed the pedagogy wheel and our iTunes U course to 116 students, 11 and 12-year-old, and we told them to design their own learning. The subject was electricity science. We got 8 or 10 of those students in that research project said that they prefer to learn this way. 8 out of 10. Okay, and I keep saying this to everybody. It's not about the apps. The apps are not important. It's the process of understanding that the criteria you choose an app, then how you design your activities based on that app, and how to get redefinition and maybe modification, and all that to do with SAMR. And so you can use the coolest app to get the best outcome that you can design, and it flops, it fails. Not fails, it just doesn't go as well as you want. And the reason you've done that is because you haven't designed the use of the app to try to redefine the task, okay? To do things you can't possibly do without the technology. And of course, Dr. Peter Adama, whatever his name is, Dr. P, we call him, his SAMR model is priceless. And all those resources are in the thing. So as I said, there's so much here, and I'd love to keep sharing with you guys, and how we flip stuff, you know, and we've got to flip our thinking, and we've got to base ourselves on sound modeling. And I'm really just skimming over the surface, guys, I'm sorry. Okay, we flip our planning. Now, this is backward design, they call it, okay? And you don't design your learning from starting with content. You base your learning on what you want the student to look like at the end, and then therefore work yourself back from that to define assessment. And then you say, well, how do I prove that they will look like I want them to look like? If you understand me, I don't mean physically look, but I want them to be like this. How do I tell they're like this? I design assessment. Well, I can't give them assessment unless I've given them the right activities and the right activities will do, so that they're ready for the assessment. And so the next thing, this is what they call, hang on, this has got to do with alignment. Okay, there it is there. Watch that video. Go and watch that video, guys. It's wonderful. Okay, and this is about the process of saying, how do I approach good learning design? And so you start with objectives, and then you do assessments, and then you do activities, and somewhere almost to the end of it, you say to yourself, oh, I better make sure they understand what, let's say you wanted to, let's give a specific, the question is, what makes a good teacher? You want to teach them about being a good teacher. What does it mean? So instead of starting with a definition from a textbook of what good teaching is about and ask them to go away and read, 40 chapters on teaching, you start with the thing is, how do you know, who do you know that's a good teacher? And eventually it's you add content in context. And so that process is backward design and alignment, and it's really, really important that you start to work with that and learn. How are we doing on time?
Okay, so I think we should keep it on 1 hour, so we still have 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
No questions so far. I'm refreshing. I'm refreshing the page. I wrote that the questions are welcome, so now I tell it in Czech. Pokud by vás něco zajímalo, cokoliv, co Allan třeba nezmínil, nebo o čem nemluvil, viděli jste ve videu, tak je fajn, bylo by fajn, kdybyste se zeptali. Ke konci prezentace dostanete odkaz na PDF soubor, kde budou zřejmě všechny odkazy, o kterých Allan mluvil. Před chvilkou mluvil třeba o videu, které si můžete pustit. Není potřeba to dělat teď, ale bude ten odkaz v tom PDF souboru. který potom dostanete na konci vašeho vysílání. Okay, so I am refreshing the page. Still no question.
They're quiet a lot, aren't they?
There should be 6 people watching us.
Okay, let me recap, guys, but truly, whatever you do, don't stop at the end of the webinar. This stuff will change your life as a teacher. Okay, it's not because I thought of it. This is really just good teaching. Now, let's recap it. You're going to need to start to rethink your teaching with a series of sort of questions, or sieve, that little diagram on the right-hand side of that thing. I don't know what you call it in Czech, but it's a sieve. We call it a sieve. So you pour everything you think of for curriculum, everything you want to do in the classroom, everything you want to do outside the classroom as a teacher, you run it through a grid or a sieve. And these are the sieves that I've been talking about. And the first one is the attributes grid. And you've got to stop and think how you want your student to look. Then you run it through everything. You say, well, am I keeping them motivated? Am I giving them autonomy, mastery, and purpose?
Okay, Allan, we have a question.
Good.
Okay, so Ludmila noticed that you put different applications, but they are only for writing down notes, for example, Notability or OneNote, but you put them into different parts of Bloom's of the wheel.
Yes.
So why?
Well, again, where you put see, understand the Bloom's the pedagogy wheel is a static, it's an infographic or approach to something. The answer to the question is that you start with an app and what it can do, and then you think to yourself, well, that it can sit there, but each one of the apps in the wheel can do multiple things, and it can go wherever you want. I say this time and time again, it's not about the apps. Don't lock in and say, well, that app there should be over here. Mm-hmm. Just say to yourself, what are the best apps that I can use to work out my cognitive domain or my outcome to create something? And I want to create I want the students to hypothesize about something, and you work out your learning outcomes. Start with your outcomes, look for an app that will work best. And these kids we worked with in this action research project in Australia were given prizes when they found apps that weren't on the wheel.
Okay.
See, it's a world view, guys. I'm not sure I answered the question effectively, but I don't want to try to get into that mode, because I'm just saying there's some apps for you to think about. Right? If you think it should be over the other side, go do it. Mm-hmm. But think about, how does it impact your pedagogy? And then how do you design activities using that app so that you're actually redefining the task? If you can achieve it with app A in category apply, go for it. Mm-hmm. I've been successful.
Mm-hmm. Okay. There is another question. If you think that you will make new version of the wheel and you will put new applications in it.
You, the first person that gives me 122 Android apps to do an Android pedagogy wheel, mm-hmm. I will take out and buy goulash.
Okay.
Okay, I'm serious. Yeah. It's a question of finding a starting point, saying, okay, these apps will do a good job on an analyze. So we put them in the analyze section. But the answer to the question is, not only am I keen to translate it into other languages, and right now in up to 30 languages being worked on at the moment, teachers are translating them into another 20 languages, and we've got 10 published already. But I want other uses. And yesterday we were discussing here with Lucy and the team about using it for autism, and using it for special ed, and using it for K to 12. If some of those apps don't work in a K to 12 space, let's throw it out. Okay. The next version of the pedagogy will, we hope, might even be an app itself, so that after you identify your you start feeding criteria into the process, like who your audience is, who your age, the people you want to work with, etc. It starts selectively choosing not only apps but activities and so on and so forth. And then we're going to have a, is that helpful?
I hope so. There are no more questions.
All right then.
So, and we have 3 minutes till 9 o'clock. So if you could summarize or.
Okay. This, I'm not, I don't know how, you know, I don't know what they expected, what everybody expected, but it's, I say this again, it's not about the apps. It's about understanding the process of for a pedagogical approach. And my challenge is to all of you as teachers is to take a step back and look at every decision you make and try to process it according to a set of criteria of excellence. And this will help you. And what you don't want to use, don't use, but be careful that you don't leave any of the steps out. You need to have a clear picture of your graduate. You need to have clearly in your front lobe of your decision-making process how to motivate students, and always keep that in mind. You need to be using Bloom's taxonomy to ensure you're developing higher order thinking. You need to be using apps intelligently based on selection criteria that's based on your teaching or based on pedagogy. And you also need to be able to use the SAMA method to ensure that you're not using substitution. Because if all you're doing with your apps is substituting, the student eventually will get bored and start looking at Facebook again. I hope that's helped.
Okay, Allan, thank you very much. Shall I share with the participants the link for PDF?
Absolutely, please do.
Okay.
If they don't get the PDF, they won't maximize the experience.
Okay, so I'm doing it just now. Okay, they should have it now.
Okay.
Okay, so I have some assessments that it was very interesting to listen about your wheel, how you did it, and to hear something about the future of the wheel. And they thank you, or Paulina thanks you, and says have a nice evening.
Yes, I've been honoured, and Petra, I'm going to clock off now and have dinner. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So, I am shutting down the... Tak, ukončuji vysílání. Mějte se moc hezky, jsme rádi, že jste dnešní večer strávili s námi. Za Gek učte s námi se loučí Petra.